Hello, James.
Hey man,
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. It's so funny. My email has been like possessed. The last
Okay.
shit just drops off, and I don't know why. It's like a cosmic joke, and it's not funny. But I obviously
Right.
found it. I got the information from Facebook, typed it in. Everything's fine. So I'm here. I know I'm early, but I just wanted to make sure because I
Yeah,
don't think I've ever had a Zoom meeting with anybody that didn't have something weird in the beginning. So.
yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's not your fault. Oh my God, no, it's Zoom.
Yeah,
It's the thing, the way of the world.
right. So, I know you've been such a busy guy these past. It's been a blessing that you've been producing various forms of art, and I want to say thank you for doing that because I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for appreciating it because, you know, all of my work with Pokemon, except for Alan, who's the engineer and my good buddy, when I go into dub and just back and forth with Pokemon USA doing the scripts, I'm just alone. I mean, I just do everything by myself. So it's lovely to hear somebody go, it's not just falling into the ocean out there. Somebody's actually watching it. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. But before I want to go dive into your professional career, I want to see how you develop the passion for the fine arts, the performing arts, acting. You, being a musician, a pianist, a singer. I mean, because you done it all, man.
Well, hopefully, I'm still doing it. I'm actually trying to carve out more time with music because
Yeah.
that's what I started. I mean, I started taking uh, piano lessons at 5, and my dad had 3 brothers, and the 4 of them were all musicians. And I remember we had friends in my hometown in Indiana that had kids that they sent to Interlochen Arts Academy. And Dad did not really want me to go because he said, if you go, he didn't say it to me, but I knew it when if you go, you're going to end up a musician. And he would go like, "Aye," because he was a musician for decades, but
Yeah.
he just thought it was a crappy business. And but I went, and by then, I mean, I went when I was 14. I was just hooked, you know, practicing 7 hours a day, and and then after I graduated in '71, I went to Ann Arbor and joined a group called New Heavenly Blue with Chris Brubeck, who I had gone to Interlochen with, and they were touring a lot, and we were doing all this stuff. So I was just all of a sudden I was a musician. So
Yeah. Yeah, my friend Chris, he also interviewed various actors from like different like performing arts and whatnot. He said you were part of a band called the Laughing Dogs.
yes, that was that was the next band after New Heavenly Blue, which was '72. I'm trying to remember exactly how it happened. I mean, Laughing Dogs started out a few bands before that. I think in 1975 we were called Foxtrot, and we backed up Rupert Holmes on his second album, and then it just started to kind of mutate into different things. But the Laughing Dogs was just we were just like, and we had a great A&R guy at Columbia, Paul Atkinson, and he used to be the guitar player in the Zombies. So he signed us, and we did 2 albums on CBS as the Laughing Dogs.
Yeah, because like my friend Chris, he said he enjoyed what you had done with the Laughing Dogs because he's definitely a stickler for like old time classic veteran like music back in the day kind of music. So I want to thank you for producing in the Laughing Dogs.
Do I know Chris, or is this just somebody that?
It's another Chris. His name is Chris Mayak. I'm probably not pronouncing his last name right, but
Oh,
he's another independent interviewer that does various actors that you probably know in your career. So
right.
so
I
he's
wish I could. I wish I could see them more often, though. I mean,
yeah.
I'll go into Goldcrest, and somebody was just Mark Thompson was just there, and he
Oh my
just.
gosh,
I mean, that's what happens all the time. Um, and Lisa Ortiz is directing, but she does it
in
every
LA.
month. It's right. So we have a computer hookup to LA, and she directs. And when I deal with Ayuno, which is the production company there in
Yeah.
Burbank, beautiful downtown Burbank. So they're all really nice people, though. It's all worked out. But COVID, in March of 2020.
Hmm.
I flew out to Indiana to see my sister,
Yeah.
and March 13th, all hell broke loose. That day, they shut
Yeah.
everything. Flights were canceled. You couldn't drive over the borders. So we were there, which was no problem for me. My wife was not as happy about it as me, but it's my hometown. So we were
Yeah.
there from March until June in 2020. So it just changed everything. It changed the way we record and work and all this stuff.
Yeah. Did you have like any kind of issues setting up your home studio?
Not at all. Matter of fact, again, Ayuno came through like, first of all, the neighborhood that our house is in is really, there's like no traffic at all. And there's no people. I mean, it's just dead. So I just set up in an upstairs bedroom, the third room up there, and it was so quiet and carpeted. And Ayuno sent me a USB mic and a set of headphones that go with the mic and soundproofing stuff. They sent me all the stuff so I could build my own booth, but I'm too claustrophobic. I can't do those booths. So what I did is I just took the pieces of the booth and soundproofed them and kind of placed them all over the room, and it worked really well. So I just used it like we were just there 3 weeks ago,
Wow.
and I recorded from out there. It's no problem at all.
Yeah, speaking back on Mark Thompson, he told me that he actually lived like a couple of minutes away from Gold Crest Post studio too. So it's like it's just like within walking distance for him. So it's like I'm glad with. 'Cause I know y'all been with Duar for about 10 to 12 years, so it's kind of like a sad transition from one studio to another studio. But either way, I'm glad you guys like bumping each other while doing your sessions.
Well, I think he actually rides his bike. So either he's on his way after a session to go somewhere else, but Alan Gus, who's the engineer, is always telling me, like I've known Alan since Duart days,
Yeah.
and he's a good buddy. I consider him a good buddy, and so he kind of tells me who's coming in or who's just been in, and most of the Pokemon people are still recording from home. So
Yeah.
you probably know that. But Mark goes in. I wonder who else goes in. That may be all. Maybe the two of us are the only ones that go into Goldcrest. I love Goldcrest.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see a human being for how many months except on the subway, which there was nobody, and going to Goldcrest and hanging out with Alan.
Yeah. Oh, so you don't get a chance to see Michelle Noss and Chris Smith anytime between the.
I haven't seen them in person for at least 2 years.
Wow.
We
And
did a con together in in late 2019. I think it was actually in Evansville, Indiana. But then I talked to them, and then of course she records. She always wants me to record first because Team Rocket stuff. A lot of time there's like I'll write 3-part harmony for songs and all kind of stuff.
Right.
So I'll go first and do a guide track, and we communicate that way. But I would love to see them again. They're wonderful people.
They're great. They're very great. And I want to backtrack a lot back. So I know
Sure.
you've been a musician for a very long time. So when did you like found the devoted passion for acting?
I've always been a nut job,
Okay, yeah.
when it comes to doing. I mean, I grew up, was raised on Bugs Bunny and all the Warner Brothers cartoons, and so I would imitate him, and just for no reason other than I'm nuts. And so that's the reason why Meowth appealed to me so much, because he's kind of, somebody
Yeah.
described him as a cross between Curly of the Three Stooges and Bugs Bunny. The two of them. So it was right up my alley. But like I think I had done some voice work in the late '80s, but in the mid
Yeah.
'90s, this other anime stuff started to appear, and it was fun. I loved it, and I loved being able to go in and audition and not have to like miss notes or not play as good as I wanted. So it was just to me it was like playing, doing the voices. So it was like, yeah, the first episode of Pokemon was 1997, was it?
25 years ago. My goodness.
Oh my gosh. And that was I was Gary in the first.
Gary.
And he's still around sometimes.
Yeah, you did him recently. I was like, when the minute I saw him, I knew he was gonna play. I knew he was gonna be so happy to write for him again. It's because it's been such a long time since you left the character.
And they're, Ash and Gary are friends now, but Gary's still a snot, so it's,
Yeah.
I like it.
And you write for it too. So
Yeah, I do. That's probably the most fun part of the whole gig is writing Team Rocket jokes and then being able to go in the studio and voice them. You know.
yeah, and speaking of this, I know you do a lot of various creatures because how is it writing the script for those kind of characters? Because you know you're not just saying the name all the time, you're also doing like a whole performance like you do with any actor. Like, for example, you voice Turtwig, Grotto, Torterra. You gave distinctive voiceover characterization for those three roles, even though they pretty much the same character.
Well, they're different sizes, and they actually appeared in succession. So when Turtwig first showed up, he was a Turtwig, but then Grotto, that was probably the hardest one.
Okay.
But Ortera's, you know, hanging out every so often. It just was kind of a natural progression. And when it came to coming up with voices, either I've been really lucky or they've been really nice because I don't even know how many of those things. You know better than me how many.
Oh, well, I could tell you, you did Corfish, you did Swallow, like Swallow. I'm like, I can't do, I'm sorry, that's a bad impersonation.
That's okay. By the way, Corfish, why, I mean, I thought Bill Rogers was doing Corfish, but, you know, maybe I did at one point. I don't even.
Yeah, I think that's probably a miscredit. That's probably on my fault. I'm so sorry.
No, not at all. It doesn't matter. It's just that sometimes, I mean, I learn more stuff from people that watch the show than I can remember. 25 years is a lot of critters, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot of critters. Like you did Carnivine.
That's my favorite. Carnivine is my absolute favorite because he's so sweet, and he's always just, you know, he loves James, so he shows it by eating his head. So it's great.
Yeah. Munchlax, which is, you know, it's like a, you know, you do a great job with Munchlax too. So like Munchlax, you know.
Munchlax.
There we go.
You can, like, for that guy, you can just half pronounce his name, and as long as you've got that cadence, it's great.
Yeah.
Because they don't. You know, they don't go Munchlax, Munchlax. No, it's like you said, it's a performance. So you got to kind of twist the names and make it sound like they're talking. That's what they happen to sound like when they're talking. Their names.
And you did a weird creature called Gulpin. It's a weird voice, like Gulpin in the home. Or like I can't. It's weird to do it.
You mean
you're the actor.
Gulpin? Gulpin?
Yeah.
I don't remember the last. I go in and luckily they have, Goldcrest has or LA has a library of all the different voices, and sometimes I really gotta listen because I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, and you did Snorlax too. It's just like, you know, Snorlax, and
yeah, but they have to pitch him down, I think.
Okay, yeah, I've been told because Michael Hagney, he told me that they pitched his voice down too when he used to do Snorlax too. So it's like it's that's the interesting part of working on Pokemon for you actors is like you give a new challenge voice in the creature and you gotta give a more in-depth performance because people think it's like you gotta sound tough or give a cute voice. It's not just about the voice. You gotta give a performance while saying the name or the syllables of the names, like Munchlax,
Right.
Yeah.
It's basically what we're seeing, you know. If Munchlax goes flap, 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 I'm gonna go like Munchlax, you know, just it'll fit. But they pitched down Snorlax and they pitched up Shelder.
Yeah.
Probably up a whole step because I can go Shelder, but it ain't the sound of it when it actually hits the show is higher. So.
And then speaking of the similar voice you did for Meowth, you did another creature called Bayonet. I remember one of the movies you did.
Oh yeah,
like,
Bayonet.
I can't do it.
Was Bayonet a little Meowthy sounding? I don't.
Yes, he did. Yeah, yes, it did. The creature did. Like I remember it was attacking Pikachu and it was throwing like some kind of like fiery balls, like Bayonet.
Wow, okay, you got a great voice. You got a great voice too.
Oh, thank you. I try to impersonate you so much because you do a great job with the various voiceover performances you give for these characters, man. And I think your musician background helped a lot with your range. It's incredible. Again,
probably because I sing a lot too, and it probably.
And you're a great singer too.
Was Bayonet before season 9. I don't remember when it showed up.
Uh, it happened around like season 16. Right around the
Oh,
time when Lisa took over as the director.
okay. Well,
Okay.
nobody said you sound like Meowth, so that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, because you give like distinctive voice. You also did like a weird frog creature called Papato. You did something with your throat. It kind of
Oh,
there we go. And then
right.
Science
Yes,
Pato.
I do remember that, and I think I got that part because I could do that. I could, you make the little epiglottis flap.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Tom Whaler told me that the way he direct you guys, you want to make sure you can like picture the creature, and then once you see the creature at what kind of animal it looks like, you can give it that more of that animalistic quality to your voice, so you can not sound like a person saying the name over and over.
exactly. That's exactly right.
At least I do.
That's the trick, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and then sometimes, though, I will go too far, and they'll be like, "Did you even say your name at all in any shape or form?" And I look back and go, "I could do it again." So I don't mind doing that, but there's always kind of a tightrope act.
Yeah. And then you did another creature. This is back during the first season of Pokemon. It's called Cubone. It's like Cubone, Bone. It's like it's weird.
No, I know. I remember with the thing on his head, but I
Yeah.
don't remember what he sounded like. So
It's kind of like a Cubone, Bone. I can't.
amazing.
It's probably been known another name in Japan, so that's probably why you say Cubone, Bone, Bone. Like with Michelle Nuss when she do Pippa, like Pip Pip Lup, because
Mm-hmm.
the Japanese name is Pochama, so she had to fit the mouth flaps within the timing and the sync too.
She's so talented. It's just
Yeah,
crazy.
she got an amazing range too. It's amazing what you guys has done again. We could be talking about this probably all day about your 25 years with Pokemon, but I want to forward a little bit. So when did they contact you about writing the scripts? Because I know that's about like 20 years ago.
Let's see. Back then, I think it was season 5 when I started writing, and I was one of maybe 2 or even 3 writers. I don't know, but it was with 4 kids, so I'd been doing the voices, and I think I was kind of like I knew. Now I don't remember her name. Kathy Borland, who was the she's married now, but she was the producer, and so I just kept. We were good friends, so I would kind of just nudge her, say, "Come on, man, I really, you know, I'd love to be able to write this stuff." And because Michael Hagney left, he
Yeah.
started doing what was the name of the show? After 4, he did 4 seasons of Pokemon, and then he did. I can see the character in my head. I can't remember his name. Kirby.
Kirby, yeah, Kirby right back at you. You had a couple of roles on there too.
So they needed, somebody to take over, and I just kept pushing them. And oh my God, how many? I must have written like 3 or 4 episodes before they finally said okay. So and also I was Mr. Mom. I was raising my son and daughter, 8
Oh
and
yeah, that's
7 at the time, and I really needed a gig to be home for, and the script writing was perfect.
great. That's
I'd
great.
take him to school, come home, write until school was out, go pick him up, come back, and then I would write in the evening and stuff.
That's great. And one role that I'm also very fond of is your role on Mickey, the character Mickey from the show called Utena. I know this is way back before Pokemon. You do it.
Right.
I can see by hearing your performance as Mickey, I can see how both of you guys can relate a lot because he's a pianist.
Right. I've laughed. I said, well, that's a coincidence. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's definitely more of a, I don't want to use the word normal, but he's certainly not cartoony. He's like,
no,
like a person.
yeah, you give a great vocal performance for that character. Because he's a very sophisticated character, and you play them so well too. Because
Well, thank you. And then he had blue hair too, just like James does.
hey,
So
coincidentally enough,
yeah.
yeah, because I was watching a little bit of Utena because my friend Chris again he mentioned the show, and I have not heard about that show in such a long time. And I remember
Hmm.
you were on there, and Rachel Lillis, she played the main character Utena, of course, but the way you played them again, he was very well reserved. He cared about a lot of things. He being a pianist.
Mhm.
he's a teenager. You know, as teenage guys, we go to the change, and then you know he have a lot of girls liking him so much, but he don't want to get close.
And they're always posing.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter where they are, what they're doing. They're somehow posing, either sitting back and whatever. It was definitely a fashion thing going on with them.
yeah.
No, Mickey was great. I was just going to say, Rachel, she did Jessie for the first
8 seasons.
eight
Yep.
season, and then Michelle took over, and that's when I just went, whoa, because she just copped it, but she also put her own thing in it while she did it. But it was amazing, because I know I don't sound like Eric Stewart when I do James,
Yeah.
but it's enough, I think. If I talk like
It's enough because you give them your own, like, when an actor take over for another actor for a certain role, they usually try to do a vocal match and then they make it their own role too. It tends to happen many times in the world of voiceovers. And
yes.
you do a great job with James, you do a good job with Meowth, you do a good job as Professor Oak. And I'm pretty sure when you looked at Professor Oak, you were thinking about an Elder Gary. So,
Yes, I was. That's why I went to that part of my voice. But the original Professor Oak, I love his voice, and I was no way I was going to try to imitate.
Yeah.
He's just brilliant. So
Stan Hart, yeah, he's a great guy. It's just when you actors come in during, like, back in the day in the busiest streets of New York City, y'all come in the dark room, perform in the recording session with you, the director, the producer, sometimes the client from
right.
Japanese. You give it your all. You do the best job, in my honest opinion.
Thank you. That's the best thing, the nicest thing you can say. I appreciate that.
Because it's a hard job. It's not an easy job to do, because before you become a voiceover actor, you gotta become an actor. You gotta understand the basics of acting. It's not easy, and then you're doing it dubbing style too, because I know dubbing is the hardest technique to do for voiceovers.
Well, to make it sound natural, because
Yeah.
you're doing one phrase at a time, and it's like it has to flow. It has to sound like it's conversational. So yeah.
Right. And it's just amazing. And speaking of dubbing, I know you did a live action dub of Ultraman. A fan of yours asked me.
Hori, I loved that character. That show was I think Hagney wrote it. It was so funny. I love that. We did it for 2 years or 3 years. I don't remember. Because 4Kids, I'm sure you know this, they had Saturday morning. So they had 8 shows every Saturday morning. So they were producing, and I was in most of them. It's just, I can't remember them all, but that's okay. It was fun.
I can remember them, so I can help you out a bit.
Well, there's, I know I was in some of Fighting Foodons and some of
Fighting Foodons.
Cubics. I love Cubics.
Cubics too.
It's great. So, but I was going to say the one period, it was definitely during the first 4 years, and I wasn't writing yet, but they would do advertising for Saturday morning for Pokemon. So that's the one time when we go do those advertisements where we'd all be together. We'd go to National Recording on 42nd Street, and all of a sudden, there's Rachel and there's Eric and there's all this kind of. It was great.
Thank you for sharing that, because I've never known that, because I'm so used to telling you guys telling us that y'all usually record by yourself and with only the director involved.
Usually, right. That's the only time we didn't do that, is when we did those commercials, which was great.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
We all stood in front of one mic, had the thing, and just did it in real time.
Yeah, that sounds like a Walla group too, right?
A what group?
I think they call it a Walla group. I think the actors.
A Walla. That's funny, because when I adapt scripts, they always have cheering Walla, and I always take out the word Walla. I don't know, because I think of Walla Walla, Washington, or something.
Yeah. True. Yeah, same here. And speaking of 4Kids production, do you remember auditioning for the character Vector the Crocodile? Because I remember when you first voiced the character.
It was different, right?
Yeah, it was different.
That's a little cloudy in my memory. I remember the Vector that I did for the longest time towards the end, but the very first voice, I don't remember.
I remember. I think I can pull it. I can pull it up a little bit. It sounds kind of similar to most of your character voice. Like, you have a damsel in distress and whatnot. Let me find it. Give me a couple of minutes.
Sure, no problem. I mean, it's interesting. I know that the character, the voice that I ended up using for the longest, I was thinking of. Now I can't think of the guy's name. There's an actor that is crazy. What are they?
Yeah.
But I was just kind of copying that guy as best I could. Hi, decent, no.
Here it is.
How long are you gonna keep this up anyway?
All right. The kid we're looking for got sent into this world from ours by chaos control, just like Sonic. And I think the hedgehog's behind it.
Did you know that?
Boy, that's rough. I can see why I
Changed it.
changed it. Yeah, because that's real. That didn't even reflect any of the wackiness in his character. Yeah. So,
you do a great job with performing as Vector for one of the Sonic video games called Shadow the Hedgehog. You like find the computer room.
Well, that's. I've done cons where if I'm signing stuff and they'll come up, somebody inevitably will say, "Go on, say find the computer room," you know. Or they'll come and they'll say one guy came and said brought a bunch of bought a set of playing cards. Mm-hmm. Said, "Look, can I take a video of you throwing the cards across the table like you did when you were Weevil?" And I threw all of the cards from Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Weevil was such a little snot, and so I would do it, and they video. I don't look anything like Weevil.
No, you don't.
But he does have blue hair. There's a pattern here.
Yeah, right. Coincidentally enough.
Right.
And speaking of Weevil, that was like another audition for you, right? You just come in, audition for the part, and then saying like, "Hey James, you sound great for this part. Do you mind performing as Weevil Underwood?" And you've done it. You do a great job because I really hated that character.
Well, okay, that's what he's for. He's for you to hate him. He's such a little jerk. But I don't actually remember the audition. I do know that when I looked at his face and I saw the way he had that expression when he laughed, I said, he's got to be all scrunched up. And he murdered my throat. I could only do a couple hours in a session with doing that voice.
I can understand because there was the one episode which I'm pretty sure you most likely remember. It's thrash your voice. I could tell there was a point where there was a scene in the animation where Weevil was getting slashed by one of the monster, and you had to make it like a blood curdling scream, like ah! Yeah. It was.
And I think I did one session, and Eric was directing.
Yeah.
It was 4 hours long of just that voice, and the next day I woke up with a fever and I was sick because I wrecked my throat, and I said, "You know what? I'm not going to do that again." You know.
It's like like. We gotta give it y'all all. We gotta worry about the vocal quality of, your vocal parts. It's
why I always do when I go in. I always record James first and then Meowth because James is easy on the throat. Except these days, there's so much blasting off and screaming and all that kind of stuff that.
Yeah.
That's okay though. No criticisms. I'm just saying it'll get your throat after a while.
Yeah. And speaking of Meowth, do you remember voicing Meowth in like certain video games where Tom Whalen was directing you? But this time it wasn't like a talking Meowth. It was just you saying like Meowth and Meowth.
Right, because it was a Meowth. It wasn't Meowth.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, I do remember that. God, I haven't seen Tom in a long time. I'm sure he's doing great, but
yeah, he's doing great. Okay, I've been
good.
Following him on.
So you've been talking to these people.
I talked to Michelle online. Like I communicate, just giving her praise and support. Because they. Like you guys been doing a lot. You're doing your best, and as a fan of your work, and as a person, I'm a fan of you guys as a person too. Because I gotta understand that even though you guys are such great actors, you're also human beings too, with your own identities and your own personalities. I definitely want to respect that.
Oh, thank you. The cons are that they never. I haven't done one obviously since COVID, but
right.
The people that show up for those things just couldn't be nicer. Just everybody's so nice and excited, and they're all dressed up great, and they're totally like psyched. I love it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you and Michelle like interact so much during those cons. I've been seeing those videos where y'all do like a little Team Rocket, Team Rocket model during those videos. I remember you shared a story. This is around the first time where Michelle was still voicing like Jessie, her first year of voicing Jessie. There was a Pokemon movie where Jesse James switched bodies, and Yalta did like a little kind of unique model. I forgot the name.
Prepare for trouble. Don't believe what you see.
Yeah, there we go.
Double these are just these earrings are just not me or something like that.
That's it.
Well, the thing about James is it's so great to.
Yeah.
I mean, my goal is to sneak in as much double layered shit as I can.
Right.
That's totally my goal. But you know, sometimes I cross the line and then they pull it back. But sometimes, you know, I think the people that are, I have a lot of editors reviewing my scripts now from like 4 different countries, but a lot of them are kind of young, so they kind of, some of the jokes just go right over their head because they're really just like old World War II Bugs Bunny jokes and stuff.
Right.
There's a Three Stooges. There's one line that I've got a Three Stooges clock, and so each hour it says something. Somebody says something, and I remember James. I had him saying, "I'm trying to think, but nothing happens," which was a Curly line from an old Three Stooges thing. So there's just like a wealth of stuff to grab.
Now, I'm glad that as a writer, you give like with so much imagination going through your head, can write it into the show, especially with these characters as comical as Team Rocket. Now, going on for writing for this trio for a long time, there was a season in Black and White where they took a more villainous approach to their characters. They were more serious. They were less comedic. Was that a challenge for you to write for those characters when they were like more villainous?
It was, and it was also a challenge to voice it. I mean, they wore all black. They were successful in what they did. The humor was gone. I don't know if that was just one season.
Yeah, it was about like 2 seasons around like 2011, 2012.
I did not like it at all, and I just kind of like, please God, can they go back to being goofy? Because now nothing's goofy in the show, you know.
Yeah, it was such a like a dramatic shift. Like, you know, after from like Diamond and Pearl moving into Black and White, they switch on like the typical James Bond villain type of trio, you know. Like what is going on now? It's like, since when? I've never seen Team Rocket this villainous since the much earlier episodes of Pokemon.
Right. Well, I know you know, but we're, you know, whatever Japan does, we do. And if they're dressed in black and they're not making mistakes, then we're dressed in black and not making mistakes. But then I remember the next season when that stopped, and I saw them in their white uniforms, I said, yes, now we're going to get goofy. And I was right. So it's great.
That's great. And you know, going on still on Pokemon, you also voiced this little blue creature called Bagon. It's another high voice for you. So like, Bagon.
Wow. I haven't thought about that in a long time. I'd have to hear it, but I believe you. I do remember the name.
It's in a similar pitch to Meowth and Bayonet, but it's more squeeze for you and your vocal cords. So like, it's a creature, it's a dragon that wanted to fly so badly, and then, you know, you creature in the blue fight, like,
right. That's amazing. Wow.
So you know,
I wonder if that got pitched up a little bit. I don't remember, but maybe.
Right, yeah, this is like going back like about 20 years ago, so I probably got to go backtrack to watch the episode again. But you did a great job playing that little tiny dragon character.
That's amazing. I'm remembering stuff I haven't remembered in a long time.
And speaking of Team Rocket, you also voiced another character called Butch, which you probably hasn't done in.
Oh, Butch.
Yeah, Butch.
Team Rocket, Butch and Cassidy. Yes. Yeah. I modeled the voice after Harvey Fierstein.
Yeah.
I just want to be loved. Is that so wrong? You know, that's definitely, and they're constantly botching Butch. Nobody says it right, which is great.
Yeah, you give you more room. It's Butch, not Biff, not Butch.
Well, there's some things that obviously we avoid, but yes.
Yeah, it's just like you gotta be careful. Like when you write, like we gotta be careful. Like make sure you say it right too, so we don't want it to get censored. You know.
Exactly. Gotta be really careful.
Yeah, and a couple of years ago, you did this role called Udon. I think I'm pronouncing the name right on the series called Aria.
Oh my God.
Oh, sorry.
don't
I know it's
remember.
a couple of years back. This is like 2 years before COVID happened, you know.
Oh wow, maybe COVID wiped my brain because I don't remember, but I'm sure it's back there. I remember Arya, so
Yeah, it was like I watched a little bit and like I was listening to your character like, wow, that's James. And like then like I would hear like other characters too, like Veronica Taylor was in there too. It was like a bunch of many New York talent in there too. So it was a good watch for me.
well, and a lot of us, like you said, we did other shows. There was a show, which is probably my favorite show, called the Ping Pong Club. That
Hmm.
was 2 seasons, and it was at another studio, and Tony Salerno was directing, and most of the same people. We just went to a different studio, and so I got to see them, for that small amount of time, quite a bit, which was great.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like, it's interesting like you see these actors coming in, coming out, and then you do your part. And if you hear them during your session, like
Hmm.
it's that easier transition to play off them when you reacted to what their character is saying,
Right.
Like
And then I think that's like I mentioned before, Michelle always wants to hear me in there being, James and Meowth, and that just helps her, to play off of it, which is great.
Yep. And I want to talk about the CGI Pokemon movie you did. I think this was
Oh,
like the last do art gig you did before you switched over to Golden Crest. It's called Pokemon the movie Mewtwo Returns Evolution. Not only you did James and Meowth, you played Fergus again. So how's
that's right. Oh,
how's
poor
that for you?
Fergus.
Because I know you never think you were gonna play that character again. And in the
Never. After I got up to the ceiling and thrown down, I said, he's done with. But the CGI, that was probably the most difficult to write because, with regular flap, it's kind of just open and shut with an occasional ooh or e or something. But CGI was like, they were pronouncing all these Japanese words, and I had to come up with something to make it work, which I think I did, but it took a lot longer to figure it out.
did your Japanese clients ask you to make the script like however they want it, but like more faithful to the original Japanese version, but you still can put in your own brand of comedy into it, especially with Team Rocket because they still silly.
Well, again, I didn't start writing till season 5. Michael Hagney really set the tone for the humor of,
Yes, he did.
and he's brilliant. I miss him. I haven't seen him in so long, but I know the Japanese, the people they didn't say much actually. They really didn't. I mean, Pokemon was making so much money for them that I think they were just like, yeah, whatever happens. But I don't think they really ever had a problem. And then season 9, they created Pokemon USA,
Mhm.
which is in Seattle, and I was there long before them. They're good people.
Speaking of Pokemon USA, did you met one of the producers named Hillary Thomas?
Oh yeah, Hillary I've known for a long time. She's a sweetheart.
Yeah, because I know I mean, they go by Zay Zem now. I know they done a good job producing it. I didn't know that they still performing on the show because I've been seeing their name in the credits, and I see your name like Script Adaption James Carter Cathcart.
I think under voices though, do they just use Carter Cathcart?
Yeah, they just use Carter Cathcart for the voice, so like voice characterization.
That's that other guy. I don't know that other guy, but
And
Hillary.
speaking of, okay, you use a lot of different stage names like Jimmy Zoppy, Billy Beach.
I know. Well, I was at the time when I was Jimmy Zoppi. I was doing a lot of union commercial
Mhm.
voiceovers for commercials, and Pokemon is not. So
Right.
I wanted to avoid any hassle,
Right.
But Hillary, I remember, she was working at Duart, but
Yeah.
having, I think in the very beginning she was doing other work for Duart,
Yeah.
and then I remember the day God, she was in tears. And she said she's moving to Seattle because they wanted to work at Pokemon USA. And I must have hugged her for an hour. I mean, it's just, I miss her. She
Yeah.
was so much fun to talk to,
And
and hang out with. It was great.
she and Michelle are very, very close too. They actually did a little voiceover competition back in '03 where Michelle won, and Hillary was the runner-up in that voice
Right.
competition.
I remember that. Absolutely.
And speaking of that, I want to move on to your role on Genshinken. Genshinken, I think I'm pronouncing it right? Genshinken.
You'll have to refresh my memory more.
It's another show. It's about a series where these group of middle schoolers talking about being anime fans. It's Michelle Nuss knows this show a lot more, and I was watching a little bit of it too because it's a show about anime fans, and they talk about anime. So it's like art, life imitates art in that sense. I forgot which role you play. I'm sorry.
Oh, I know. I kind of remember. We were recording that in Brooklyn somewhere, and that might have been like I know Michelle had won that contest, but the show that you're speaking of, I can see him in my mind's eye. But was he Garyish or normal, or he was slightly snotty, or
Yeah, he was not. Yeah, he was like. Yeah, he was definitely Garyish for sure. I remember that now.
Right.
So it's like,
But I do remember I like the writing for that show. You know.
yeah, the writing was very unique. It's like, like I'm like listen to the characters and like, wow, the writing is very, very well done. I mean, like it definitely took its research from like actual anime fans, and writing it to this anime, It's like,
I'm telling you, if you've never seen Ping Pong Club, please do me a favor, go on YouTube. I think there's a few episodes. We kind of wrote it on the fly. We just, as we were recording, we would write our lines, and the only rule was you couldn't say the F word, but you could say any other word, which was
wow,
great. It was so much fun.
I'll definitely check it out because I'm a fan of like like raunchy comedy to an extent. So I'll definitely check it out after.
It's a story of a bunch of basically horny 8th grade male students. That's basically what it is. And so every joke is a TNA joke, and
Yeah.
and I was Maeno, so I did a lot of work on that show. But we just got away with murder on that show. It was so great. It was so much fun.
Yeah, because I was just got done watching Stranger Things, and that's pretty much in that similar alley. And in real life, kids around 8th grade, they pretty much know what they're talking about because they at that age where they understand like certain things like sex education and other risque jokes like that.
It really got like right on the edge,
Right. I'm definitely like I enjoyed the quality art of edgy entertainment like that because they do a great job with that. I would definitely check it out, and you just recommend me for watching it, so I definitely will check it out.
And there's not a whole lot of. I think we did 13 episodes twice, so I mean we did 26 episodes. I think that's it. But it was Central Park Media.
Yeah.
A lot of those shows were Central Park Media, but
Central Park Media.
That was so much fun because Tony, who's a dear friend of mine, the director Tony Salerno, he just would sit back and just let us go nuts, and then of course he would write too. We would just be in there bouncing ideas off. It was very creative, definitely.
And speaking of Central Park Media, since we're on that studio, do you remember your time voicing Prince Phil Lionel on Slayers?
Yes.
Phil Lionel. There we go. Phil Lionel.
Oh, I thought it was Phil Lionel. What do I know? Luckily, I never had to say my own name.
Yeah, you do a lot. You did a lot of voiceover roles on Slayers. It's wow, and that's one of my favorite series too. But Lisa Ortiz with the lead role too.
Well, she was her voice. I mean, anytime that I just talking to her regularly, or working with her, that voice is always in the back of my head that she did because it was just perfect.
Yeah. And I enjoy her New York accent. She have a very classy style of that her New York roots is still strong, even living in LA for about 2 years now. So
he's from Long Island. You can't take it out of her.
Right, that's so true. And speaking of Slayers, there was at least Lena Inverse cameo in Pokémon that you wrote for a little bit, where at least actually jumped into the booth to take over for Michelle. It was an interesting episode. It was back in the Sun and Moon days. Jesse was doing like some kind of theater production, but it had more personalized for the Japanese version because the actress that voiced Jesse,
right?
She did so many roles in other series, and they did like a little love letter to her career. So Michelle had the challenge to try to do a lot of voice impersonation, improvisation doing those various roles. But when the Lena Inverse came in, Lisa decided like, let me try to do my Lena Inverse cameo. And
That
then
voice is eternally just right behind her throat, ready to come out like with a vengeance, you know.
yeah, it's just amazing where how art such as animation like that can you never know what you're going to do, and the fact that you get the chance to play have fun improv, and most importantly, as with any actor that got to do it, improv. I never knew how improv and imagination is so much important.
Yeah, well, and definitely, probably of all the shows, especially now, Pokemon is the most exacting and demanding, and you just have to make really sure that whatever you're saying, it's not going to uh, taint little kids' minds, you know.
Right. It's it's a lot. It's a lot going on, and I'm glad for the fantastic job you, the producers, Lisa, Tom, Teresa, all the directors, Eric, Michael. I got the list goes on.
It's amazing how many they were just there, you know.
Yeah, and now it's being produced in a bi-coastal setting, like how they done with NYAV Post too. You
Right?
record from New York City, and the other actors record in LA. So you just crunch it up together, and and for one, you get to write the script for these actors. So there's actors in LA you probably don't know, and you write for their characters. So
I've never met them, talked to them. It's a different world, you know, but I know the character that they're voicing, so I feel pretty confident that I can write the right stuff.
yeah, you do a good job, because I just talked to another New York actor, Danny Kramer. I interviewed him a couple of months ago. He's a fantastic actor in his own right. He done a lot of commercial gigs. He got a great voice when it comes to commercial work, like yourself. He also appreciated what you've done with his character Raihan. He played the character Raihan currently right now.
Okay.
He said thank you so much for writing for his character. He enjoyed performing the lines that you wrote for him. So I'm giving.
Oh, that's really nice. That's not so easy. I mean, I don't hear that stuff. I wish I could take this off my wall so you could see it, but I had to have a hip replaced a few years ago.
Okay.
And so I was in the hospital recuperating, and Sarah came up with this. Somebody drew a beautiful painting of James in bed reading get well cards, and everybody signed it. Everybody from Pokemon signed it. So there were definitely even here there are people. I'm like, who are you? You know, but it's great.
And speaking of which, y'all also went around fall of 2017. Y'all went out to see the Pokemon I Choose You movie. Lisa, you, Mike Pollock.
You're right.
Oh my gosh, I can name. Is there a lot of you guys? Y'all went out. Y'all had a great night. How was that experience for you? Because I know with the big smile on your face, you had such a great time.
I had a great time, but the best part of it all was seeing everybody. That was like maybe the last time we en masse. Everybody that went to the movie, you know, there's a picture of us. I know.
Yeah.
And it was just great. It's just great to see everybody.
Speaking of Billy Bob Thompson, I'm pretty sure you met him before. The actor.
I had. He's a whack in the best sense of the word.
He is.
He's so funny. He's just great.
And funny enough, coincidentally enough, I should say, he actually took over the role as Weevil Underwood, and he did a great impersonation with the character voice you provided for him.
Yeah, a lot of good ears out there. Definitely.
Yeah. Very. And with Darren Dustin, he's still directing Yu-Gi-Oh series, as you know, like back in 4K media. I'm pretty sure you probably haven't seen him in such a long time too.
There was a problem, and I to this day don't know the reason. I can guess, but they did a more recent. What was it? A movie? That I didn't get. They didn't want me on the movie, so there was something political going on. But I just I love Darren. He's an old buddy. It's no problem.
Yeah, I understand, because I had to talk to another actor. He's saying that there's always like certain kinks when it comes to the backstage part of the business, But I respect that, as a fan, I want to respect your privacy, and you don't have to do a full disclosure because it happens. It happens to me at work at times too, and you're like, I
Sure. Yeah, happens to everybody. I know.
get.
Actually, when I think about it, I've been pretty lucky because I consider all of the people that I work with friends. So
Yeah, and man, I don't want to wrap it up too shortly, but I want to go back to Pokemon. I know Lisa, this is like the final days of recording sessions for the Sun and Moon series and overall at Do Art. Lisa, in her personal take, she took pictures with so many of you guys. Like they had the Pokemon plushies.
yeah,
How how was your take on doing your final sessions recording at Do Art? How did you feel about that? Because you've been coordinating with them or collaborating with them for about 12 years.
well, I think part of me was sad to see. I wasn't going to see the people that were in the building, but I think we had a pretty good head start because Alan had worked at Duart and then he was going to Goldcrest, and I'm pretty sure he said, who knew that COVID was going to mess everything up so bad?
Right.
But the plan was everybody that used to go to Duart was just come down to Goldcrest. So but it was time for a change, I think.
I can understand because you switched to like from Taj Production, Four Kids, Taj again, Duart, and now Go Crest Post, and
Right.
And back in early 2020, when I found out that Lisa was moving to LA, I had a little gut in my throat saying that, oh no, what if they had to get a new director? Then suddenly, several months later, I found out that she's still directing, but this time she's directing bi-coastally with you guys in New York and the other actors in LA. So like,
Right.
this is like a much win-win scenario for me. Like the same director who's been on the show for season 1. And speaking on that, you're the longest serving actor for the show. You've been on the show straight for the past 25 years.
Yes, I
Yeah.
have, and so has Roger. Well, no, Roger Parsons for a while he wasn't the announcer.
Mike
But
Paul,
he was there in the very beginning.
yeah, he was there for the very beginning too. You, Lisa, Ted Lewis,
Casey Rogers wasn't
Casey
she
Rogers.
there?
Yeah, she was there too. She retired back in 2017 though too. I'm pretty sure you knew about that too.
Yeah, it was all some of it's murky, and some of it I just choose to not dig in about because stuff happens.
Yeah. Like I really do. I still miss her, hearing her wacky voice too. She was wacky, just as wacky as you and Mark Thompson too, with the character voices too. It's amazing. I'm glad that she decided to retire on her own, and I'm glad for all the vocal portrayals that she portrayed in her career, like Wobbuffet,
Right.
Totodile, Cyndaquil. The list goes on with her creatures and various characters too.
And I would actually, she was one of the people I would see quite a bit at Duart, and every time I saw her, I'd go, "Hi, Casey," and she'd go, "Hi, Carter." So it was just that was the trademark, because she does that. I call them weenie head voices, but she's a master at that stuff.
Yeah, and speaking of like during your Pokemon day, you had to have a voice in like old elder ladies.
Yes, I imagine I did or do, depending on who it is.
Yeah, you did this elder character. This is back on the first season. Like, you gotta train that Charmeleon.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it was like a snarky older lady and whatnot. And you did like in a couple years later, around like early 2000, 2001, you voiced two different old ladies. They look like twin characters, but it's like another guest role.
Right.
And then another character you also voiced, is the gym leader called Price.
Oh yes.
He was a gym leader, but you also had a chance to voice him in his younger years. So did you have a little like distinctive trouble like picking up the voice or create a younger voice for the character? Because
that a lot of those voices, Price though maybe more so. I mean, he just kind of I went in one day and there he was, and so we talked about it, and I did it. But so then you're in and you're the voice, and then things happen to the character, like he gets really young, stuff. So you just work on it.
Yeah, because like when you've given the size of the character Price, he's like a very cold-hearted character, just like as an ice type gym leader. Then you found out why he was so cold and
Right.
tough, because he thought his own beloved Pokemon left him, abandoned him.
Right.
It
It's
turned out,
awful. He had a cool mustache though.
Yeah.
Probably still does.
Yeah. Yeah. James, yeah, again, I try not to get too what's the word, broken up and emotional. I can't thank you for what you've done with your career.
Oh, thank you. You just reminded me of that episode, Sweet Baby James, when he has to give up Chime Echo.
Oh man.
That one was so hard to dub because I kept breaking into tears.
Yeah,
Because it was just such an intense episode, you know.
yeah, because Chimeco, he been with Chimeco for a good while, and to let him go like that it's truly touching. I know, and there's also like sad points in the series too where you wrote for a character where a Pokemon dies called Stoutland. Yeah, I know that.
Right. That was tricky and not easy because, there's certain rules and regulations Pokemon USA has, but then again, we're subject to what we're given
Right.
from Japan, and sometimes you just can't avoid issues that I'm sure Pokemon USA would rather avoid, and that was one of them.
Yeah, but you do a good job, right, with the site. A little restrictions on the business side. You do a great job writing for that scene, because that was that scene where Lisa Ortiz was voicing the character Litten, it sounded like a cat. So at that point where Lisa had to cry in a meowy type voice, like meow. I can't do cat sound because I want to do because when you guys when y'all do these creature voices, y'all get a more authentic, believable performance. I mean, like when you're doing like monster voices, it's like Torterra or Agron, or you really get into the mood of sounding like a monster, like with Torterra. And Torterra happened to be one of my favorite Pokemon too. And thank you for giving him that kind of.
Hey, he's got the tree coming out of his shell.
Yeah.
You gotta be cool if you got a tree growing out of your shell.
Yeah, so you gotta have that serious, no nonsense voice like Torterra, and then you have like a little scowl in his eyes. So
Right. Well, obviously the look of the Pokemon and their expressions tells a lot. So So.
And you also did another like a scouring creature called Glalie, like Glalie. It's
oh my god, this is great. I haven't thought about some of these in so long.
Yeah, because I think you did Glalie for the one of the video games. Once again directed by Tom, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was looking through all the names of the credits. I had you, Sarah Natachani, Casey Rogers, Scott Williams, Mark Thompson. Even Eileen Stevens, she returned as Iris recently too.
Cool.
Yeah, I was shocked too, because I know she moved away from New York City about a couple of years ago to Florida, and when Iris was coming up, I was afraid that they might have to use another actor or actress. So fortunately, Lisa get in contact with Eileen, and she done it. You wrote for it. You did a great job writing for Iris.
I loved Iris. She kept Ash in line, as far as I'm concerned. But now you said this is funny because I don't think like Veronica Taylor, that's not her real name,
right?
And the down in Florida that voiced Professor Oak, that's not his real name. So people, I think, and Dan Green. I mean,
he goes by another name, but I don't want to disclose it for.
Right, of course. I'm just saying. I'm trying to remember which was the fake name and which was.
Dan Green is definitely the fake. Here's another fake name that you personally know, Wayne Grayson.
Yes, I would like that. Because I think wasn't that a character on? I mean, the actor that played on Leave It to Beaver. I thought there was a Wayne Grayson or some Grayson, but I always thought that was a great name.
Yeah, it actually take cues from for a certain dynamic duo, Batman and Robin, their real name, Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yep. So that actor is a big fan of Batman. So yeah.
You bet.
Yeah, and speaking of which, before we end this interview, do you remember collaborating with actor Mike Pollock?
Sure. I've never. I mean, directly. Because Mike was the narrator for a couple of years, or a few years. I don't remember how much. But I think it might have been the first time I met him in person was at that the movie thing that we all
Yeah, that
went
was the
to.
movie. Yep, that was the movie.
He's such a nice guy. It's just that I can't believe that we've been working together all these years, and I'm just now meeting you. You know.
Yeah, it happens with so many of you actors that work on dubbing roles, like anime roles. Like you record by yourself, so you don't get the interaction. You don't have that group recording, which I'm pretty sure you did. Like you say, you mentioned you already did group recording sessions with
Right.
other actors with different like original animations. So it's like when you do it by yourself, you never realize that that same actor also was on the same projects as you were.
Right.
It's amazing to meet them after like such a long time, you know.
Well, there was a few projects I did with Harry Schnitzler. He's a wonderful guy, and he produced and directed several. But there was one that we did, and we all did it together, and it was on a big sound stage, and the microphone was like 10 feet away, so it was just like real ambient. Sounded like you're in the room, you know, for what you see. But that kind of stuff, I'd love to do. I never get a chance to do that, but it's great.
Yeah, because it's like I've known like many voiceover actors love doing group recording sessions because you have a much funner time playing with the other actors in the same recording booth.
Right.
You know, like what are you doing? I'm doing fine. What about you? You know, and then y'all laugh.
Right. It's great.
Yeah, so I know there's many times where you did I want to say thousands of Pokemon sessions you had done in your career. You just look at the character, you start laughing because like, what the heck going on here?
Well, you sent me a what do you call it? A collage of all those characters. That's incredible. Did you?
It is.
I mean, it's incredible that you. I don't know how you compiled it, but if that is what I think it is, that's just amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, you did so much. I mean, I'm looking at it now. I mean, you did a character called Slowpoke.
Yes.
What's called Crocodile. Crocodile was like another reptile character.
Yes, these I remember. That's right.
You even did Blaziken. I'm amazed you were able to do that voice.
Excuse me, I got a little phlegm today.
Oh, yeah, I want you to do the voice.
No, it's fine. Well,
Blaziken!
There you go. That's it, Blaziken. And you know,
my favorite thing about him is that he had fire in his crotch. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And you know, Michelle Nuss, she do the smaller form Torchic. You know, it's like another high voice for her. So it's
right. She's just so. I miss all these people. You know, we got to all hang out one of these days.
Yeah, and another character, you did like Aeron, Laron, and you also did another bug character called Ninjas.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. There's a lot of. Well, that's the other thing is when these Pokemon evolve. Yeah. And they come, you know, and you're doing them in the normal order that they appear in the show. Sometimes the second and third evolution, I just forgot that I did them. You know, so this is great.
And you did like a bird creature called Spearow, like Spearow.
I don't remember exactly how I did it, but I do remember Spearow.
Yeah, Swallow. Yeah, Swallow was more smooth, like Swallow. It's like I don't want you to do it. It says.
And there was a character who was a Briny. You remember Briny?
Yeah, Mr. Briny. Yeah, you did Briny. That was another gig you did, another role you did 20 years ago.
Right. And I always remember him because
They allowed me to talk like a pirate, you see.
Yes.
That was great. Yeah.
I know you took advantage of doing that role because that's exactly how I picture his voice when I look at Mr. Briny. And you do, again, another great job because
thanks.
Like for the past 25 years, again, with many of the guest roles you did, you basically having a ball. I mean, you're doing these types of characterization. I mean, you even played like a Tarzan kind of character called Tommy from the first season. You played like a kid character, like Kangas Khan or something like that.
Oh, Tomo the Jungle Boy.
Yes.
Tomo Mama Kangaskhan.
I do totally remember that. He was great. He didn't show up. He just showed up one episode.
Yeah, it was another guest role. It was like one of those guest roles that you did. Like you had another guest role as this bug catcher character. This was like about another session right after your first session as Gary.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, he had like a Metapod and a so he was like criticizing Ash for being a bad trainer because it's like one of the same. This is 25 years ago, so I'm pretty sure you won't remember too much. But
Wow.
guess roles you've done like that, and I gotta look at your collage real quick. It's
Well, that first season especially was such a whirlwind because none of us had any idea. The only thing we were told before we started was that, what did they tell? They told us one thing. It was obviously about cute animals, but it was. Oh, I know. There was a scene in the first episode, in the first season, where there was a strobe effect, and somebody in Japan watched it and had a epileptic fit. That was the one fact, and we went, "Oh, great!" So, but it's okay because we didn't know, but it made it all the more fun to just kind of grab stuff, because we really didn't have to. The Pokemon sometimes we had to cop the sound, but the human characters we were just kind of all do what you want, and if it stinks, we'll let you know. So.
Right, and going on there, you also did like a recurring character, as you know what the word recurring means. It's called Tall Snap. You were like a Pokemon photographer.
Oh, Snap! He's on a video game.
Yep.
I just love taking pictures.
There we go. Oh my gosh,
I remember him. That was great because sometimes there would be video games that would come out and nobody said anything. So there was Snap, and I went, well, he's gotta say something.
Yeah, I think like your only cues, like he say like yes or something like that. It's like
right. That's exactly what it is. He would say that. There were obviously a few things, and depending on how the game was going, trigger certain things.
Wow, you really stink.
Or there we go.
No, I didn't say that.
I hate to mention this, bro. You played a rat called Raticate and Rattata.
It's so funny. The whole first, 10 years of the show, I said Rattata. I thought it was Rattata. And now all of a sudden they come back and it's Rattata. And I said, what, is this something you eat? I mean, so I said it wrong all those years, but they changed it. It's okay.
Yeah, that's the same way with like certain names too. Like I remember that another creature called Arceus. I've been pronouncing it Arceus, but
right, exactly.
They changed it because, as you know, you've been to the UK for a convention a few times before. There's an obvious reason why they changed from Arceus to Arceus.
Well, for a couple of years, they'd be having battles and doing all these competitions and stuff, and somebody would say, "We're going to be rooting for you, Ash," and England came back and they said, "Change it to cheering because rooting in England has nothing to do with what you think it does."
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a double entendre.
So we changed it. It's fine. I don't mind.
Yeah. So it's like, they gotta take by certain liberty with certain like English speaking countries again, like, and you do a good job to adapt into like certain like snags while you're writing the scripts. And to you fans watching this, once I post this, definitely when you write these scripts, such as James had been doing for the past 20 years, definitely take a liberty with your clients and understand what they're coming from and understand the business aspect, because what James Carter Cathcart did for the past 20 years is such an amazing work. And for me to grow up with this series for the past 25 years, and I'm 30 years old right now, so it's like,
wow.
My son will be 30 in October, and he was I remember the first episode when it aired. So he was 4. And I came home, I was working on something, I don't know, and he was watching TV, and just the credits were just rolling by. And I said, I called him CJ. I said, CJ, you hear Gary? That's me. And he said,
no, Daddy, you're you. That's Gary.
So he was like not quite, getting it at the age of 4. I don't blame him,
Yeah, and that's the true magic of voiceover. It's like you can play anything regardless of how you look like in real life. It's such amazing. I'm like I said again, like you play old ladies even though you're not an old lady.
Right. Well, when Pokemon Go first came out, there'd be these groups of kids, usually boys, and they would be playing on their phones and like walking all over Manhattan, going to churches and schools and whatever, because there'd be a Pokemon hanging out there. So I'd get behind them a couple times and I said,
so did you catch me yet?
And they turned around And they looked at my face and they went, "Oh man, you're nuts," and they would walk away. So
That's funny that they just not know. They just talked to the guy that voiced me out for the past 16 years so far. It's like the magic of being anonymous as a voiceover actor is so well put, and I applaud many of you voiceover actors taking this career because you get to play like almost anything, and like you can throw your voice around and people won't get it.
Literally throw it around. You're right.
And then you also played another creature that looked like kind of like sludge called Muck. So you know, looking at the creature, you know what kind of.
I've done Muck since. He's great. Just, I mean, I think they might pitch him down a little bit too.
Yeah, they're like,
I mean,
yep.
It sounded just how he looked. So.
Yep. You also voiced a little small mushroom kind of creature called Fungus, like Fungus.
I remember, but I don't remember the voice.
Yeah, you also voiced the character again in the video game too, along with Tom directing, of course. But you know, man, James. And speaking of which, when you've been voicing James for such a long time, did you always laugh to yourself like you playing the character James for this long as he shared the same name as you?
I've certainly, it hasn't been lost on me, but it's just, you know, sometimes I'll think, well, maybe that's why I got the part, but of course that's ridiculous.
Right.
I always liked James, especially after Sweet Baby James. I mean, that really cemented what a good heart he has.
And one final question before I wrap this up. Do you remember the actor and director and studio owner named Michael Center Nicholas?
Yes, I know him pretty well. I've seen him at cons. I haven't seen him in a while, but talk about brilliant. He's
he's another amazing person. Like yourself, he cares so much about the actors that he have on his production studio. He cares so much about you guys, and he's such a great supporter on what you guys have done in your careers. Like, if he recommends you to be on one of his projects, I'm pretty sure you feel beyond blessed that he even went out his way to contact you. You know,
I wish that there was more of that going on, and if I wasn't adapting the scripts, I'm sure there would be. But scripts take, long time to do. So that and voice work is kind of like, I want to squeeze. I mean, I want time for music too. That's the other.
Yeah, and you were a beautiful pianist and a vocalist too as a singer. Like I saw one of your piano demos that you did. Like I saw you see your figure so sophisticated playing.
Yeah, love it. I've been ever since 2009. I think. I mean, I studied, but I stopped taking lessons when I was 17, and then I did all this other stuff. But in 2009, I said I'm getting back into it. So over the last 13 years, I've been playing, try to a minimum of 2 hours a day, because if you don't invest that kind of time, you just feel like you're treading water, so.
Right. And you do it such great job. It's just like riding a bike again after I haven't rolled in the bike in 10 years consistently. So it's like the minute I get onto it, I can ride a bike again. So you, James, as a big fan and a great supporter of what you have done, thank you so much for your time. This is
thank you. This has been a total pleasure. This is great. Thank you.
It's been such a great privilege interviewing you about your whole career in the entertainment business. And as a person yourself, I mean, being a dad, your kids, seeing you, you're an amazing guy, man.
Well, thank you. It's been good, and I'm grateful every day that I was able to do what I've done and still do.
And still do too. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you have done in the future batch of Pokemon episodes. And I pray that I will see you at a future convention around my area.
And your area is
Philadelphia, PA. So I'm pretty much a couple of hours away from you.
Right. I was there. It's been a while. You're right. But that's such a good place for a convention. Yeah, we'll be down. Things will wake up. I know it.
With that said, James, again, thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to hearing and reading, listening to what you wrote for Pokemon and other gigs that you managed to have in the book in your future, along with your musician career too.
Okay.
So much.
Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah,
And hi to anybody that's listening, thank you. Oh my gosh, this is great. I wouldn't be able to make a fool of myself without you.
Yeah, thank you guys for your support too, for watching this. And definitely, when you see James in a convention, definitely give him a high five if you can.
Yay!
Or applaud him like I am right now.
Thanks.
All right, James, you have a great rest of the week and a great weekend. And hopefully I will stay in touch and see you in that next public appearance.
Sure. Of course we will. Thank you for this time. It's been great.
All right, take care now.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.